Are we on? All right. Here we go. Um, so today on the Long Ash podcast, we want to talk a little bit about. It's not like a general year-end wrap-up. We still have like all the half-wheel
Yeah.
things. I think we're still waiting on number one from Coop. I will say, and a special shout out to the folks over at Cigar Dojo. They released their top 20 and all their kind of industry awards, and the JR Revival 70s was awarded Packaging of the Year. So thank you very much to Cigar Dojo for the recognition, and thanks to, our creative partners and everyone here who worked on that project. It's really awesome.
I feel like
to
we
see.
were working on that for a very long time. Was it in 2022, 2021?
I started work on that in March of 23.
Okay, 23. All right.
The cigars were ready July of 23. We didn't release it until September of 24.
Okay.
So
Wow.
that was a labor of effort. That was a lot of work.
It says a lot about the packaging if it was released in, the latter part of the year and it ends up winning that,
Listen, I wasn't expecting to get like a top ratings are always tough. And I
Yeah.
was shocked when some of the 50ths got rated in like top 25s because you're just competing with so much. But packaging also, like I'm competing with guys with, not me. Our team is competing with companies that have like whole brand teams and like millions of dollars of like marketing budget they can throw at this. We don't really have that. We have to just we have to do the best with like what we can do. And the fact that we were able to get that made and also and something that Erica Dojo called out, which I think is a very good point about Revival, is that we were able to make this luxurious looking cigar. It tasted it was, a very well received product.
Yes.
But it had a luxury to it that was beyond the price point. Because at the end of the day, we sold it for, I think, $114 for a box of 10. Plus you got the free lighter. I mean...
Very budget friendly.
Yeah. That seems like something that you would charge $18 a cigar for when it comes in that packaging. And he also he's like going with the cardboard instead of doing a wooden box. Like it makes it like lightweight but still very elegant. So and a shout out to our vendor who made the box. They did a really, really phenomenal job on that. So I'm gonna send them an email today as well. So today what we wanted to do is kind of talk about. We already released our top 25 list, and we're not necessarily going to do, this isn't like awards, but, companies or brands or people that we think really made an impact either on the industry this year or on our company and our dealings. And maybe some, limited editions that really stood out or that kind of thing. For limited editions, I think one of the best ones of the year, and unfortunately, like we said before in our honorable mentions, it would have made our very high on our list if it just got here a little bit earlier. The Las Calaveras, the 10th anniversary, how does he say it? Decimo anniversario. I know I said it in an Italian accent. It's Spanish. Don't worry about it. But truly, this cigar I think is just remarkable. The packaging, the band, I think it is some of the best work Crown Heads has ever done. I think that he was able to take a lot of the essence of all the different Las Calaveras and kind of make this beautiful amalgamation of all of them where you're kind of tasting little bits of all your favorite ones. And the Las Calaveras release, it's also hard, remember, to release your seasonal release and then you're releasing an LE version on top of that. They're going to kind of compete with each other. The Las Calaveras this year, I think, was excellent. And also, I think that got a high rating from Half Wheel. I think it got a 92.
Yeah.
I think this is the best cigar Crown Heads released this year. I just think it's elegant, it's complex, but it's smooth in the right places. And how he branded it and packaged it, this band is just stunning. It's absolutely stunning. It has the right amount of gloss on it. You can still take a picture. It has these little gold details. It just really turned out remarkable. So for a limited edition of the year, I would definitely go with the 10th anniversary Las Calaveras.
Yeah, we smoked that a few weeks ago, in the box, I remember, in the video we were talking about how the box kind of has all the different colors of previous bands before it, and it was a different style box too, because usually it comes in like this square, right? Doesn't it? Most of them come in there. I don't know if like the 2020 or 2021 comes in. It's like your standard 10 count, 20 count.
Yeah.
But no, I love the design in it, and when we smoked it, it was really good.
It really is.
And like you said, also that would have been probably on our list if we were able to receive it sooner. Because as we've said in the last few episodes, doing our top 25, we took most of the year last year with a team of 8 of us to really like kind of culminate a list and all that.
Yeah. Manufacturers out there, listen, if you want to be involved in the JR list, all that we ask, try to release your stuff no later than October.
Yeah, right.
Anything after October, it's just going to get... And I would say that probably the bigger guys, except for... I'm sure Half Wheels top 25 is already done, but their like voter favorite and their consensus isn't, because they have to wait for everyone else's lists to finish.
Yeah.
But if you want consideration, we need it before the end of the year. So if you're planning any kind of November, which like oddly enough, like usually nothing really drops like after October, because it's getting to the holiday season. They want to push out their remaining inventory and everything. But like I feel like the Monte Cristo M we got in like early November. I feel like we didn't get this until like around like late October, early November.
I think it was November we had it, because I feel like we probably would have enjoyed that during like Halloween time. But I think it was in November. It might have been one of our early December episodes we even did that. I'm not sure, but no, it was a really good cigar. John should be proud for sure.
He really is.
It's just a beautiful cigar with the band, the wrapper, the size is great. Because usually there are smaller sizes too, right? I think we've talked about that.
He usually does 4 sizes of Las Calaveras. I think he does like a
Robusto maybe
5.5 by 52, and then he'll do like a 6.54 or something like that. But no, very, very good like balance of like length and ring gauge. It's not too thick, but it's not too thin. I've talked to John a lot about how he, when you're blending with these different factories and everything, and how that ratio is important, because there's been cigars that he's released that I thought were really good, but then he would tell me like he's like, I shouldn't have done it in that size. He's like, it didn't work in that size. Then he would send me like a test blend of that same blend in a thicker size, and it's unreal.
Well, that's a part of the industry as well, where you want to take a gamble on maybe a different size or tweak a certain size that's usually normal, and it's. If the blender or the manufacturer think it's hit or miss, I think that he could always go back to the drawing board and be like, oh, maybe I can make it in a different size and see how that would go.
Yeah, listen, thinner sizes are always just going to be tougher to do, because you got to find the right balance of wrapper, because there are certain wrappers that on you can blend it with all the different things. There are certain wrappers that in a thinner ring gauge, they're just going to overtake the blend. And this is what one of the things I talked to John about like broadleaf and like really thin ring gauges, depending on how it's fermented and cured and aged, broadleaf can really overpower like a really thin ring gauge cigar. You got to be careful. It could just be really smoky, really heavy, and you wouldn't really taste anything else in there.
Like a broadleaf in that
this would be good.
This would be I think it would be perfect.
Yeah, I believe this is a Habano Oscuro wrapper on this, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, so like I would say like LE or Special Project of the Year. Also shout out to the Monte Cristo M, another one that I think it's remarkable. I think it's one of the best AJ cigars I ever had. I think the packaging on that, I think if that thing comes out earlier, it's given Revival a run for its money.
Yeah.
The packaging on the M is so good.
Yeah, it comes in I believe it's presented in a white box, and you open that box, and then the actual cigar box itself, the color scheme, I guess the design of the box, it's kind of almost like dips down, like
it makes an M.
Oh yeah, wow.
Take a minute. Have a sip of root beer.
Anyway, yeah, the emblem is beautiful, and then you open it, and it's. I think don't quote me on it, but I think like when you open it, they have the story of the cigar right on the when you open the box right inside.
Yeah, packaging
And it
is
just looks beautiful. Like this, the color. Sorry, the wrapper of the cigar, I think, really it goes well with the color of the box, as well as the band. You know, it was like beige, red, white. It just really, I liked what they did with it. It's basically, yeah, what they did with it was perfect. And the cigar is really good.
Packaging is tricky because, like, we lucked out. When I say lucked out, I mean, listen, a lot of hard work went into Revival, but we lucked out in that we were able.
That was recognized.
Well, yeah, but we lucked out that we were able to get it done at the price point. If you're releasing something like Monte Cristo M, that it's a 20-year-old wrapper, it's got to be a special occasion thing every once in a while. They know that. Like, Altadis did not release that thinking everyone's going to buy 10 boxes. So you put some stuff behind the packaging because it's an occasion. And when you're smoking an occasion cigar, I mean, I know that some guys like to oh, it's our super expensive one, but we kept it like really simple. It's like, no, if you're trying to sell an occasion, something that's like above a $24 price point, you gotta make it seem like an occasion. It should be like a procedure to not in terms of difficulty, but it should be like it's got to be like you want like a ritual kind of feeling to it. Like, oh, I'm going to open this part and then this is going to come open and you're going to see the thing. So when you're doing something like Monte Cristo M that you know is going to be for a higher price point, it's a very kind of more exclusive, hard to find, hard to make kind of thing. Oh, sure, you can kind of like put a lot towards the packaging. However, I do see difficulty sometimes with guys trying to reconcile, like, we have to make it stand out enough, but also, is this a $8 cigar overall that because of what we did with the packaging, we're going to end up charging, $13 or $14 for it because we went. Like, I'm working on our next project, the biggest one I've ever done. Like, 5 different kind of box varieties and packagings and sampler, like all this stuff from soup to nuts. I'm doing everything. Me as in like our team is doing everything. And it's going to be like a $12-ish price range. And we went much simpler on the packaging because like we need to get this out. Like we didn't want like Revival. We kind of needed the packaging to be like that, because no one knew what it was.
Yeah.
It's a JR branded thing. Like, no one knew. So we needed to, like, grab them in and show them, the quality of the cigar. With this, we're kind of doing the opposite, where it's, like, a name that some people might recognize, but not everyone's going to know. And we're trying to get it out, like, for people just to, like, try one. And then we're keeping the cost down by, like, not going crazy with, like, super elaborate packaging. So because otherwise, if we did, we might get a couple more first bites, but it really is, it's underpriced at $12 or $13. But if we did this crazy packaging and it turns out it has to be $18 or $19, well, that's a little bit outside of where the cigar should, because and it has nothing to do with how good it is, because good is subjective, but just like the experience this is going to give you. I know what a $12 experience, like a really good $12 experience is. And I know what a really bad $18, $19 experience is. So you have to kind of reconcile this when you're making these projects of like, how much do you got to put something towards it. You got to make it eye-catching. You got to make it memorable. But how much am I willing to sacrifice putting it into there instead of trying to make something that's a little easier for the customer's wallet to swallow?
Yeah, I mean, packaging is so finicky, I feel like, because it really depends on, I guess, the brand or the company as well. Most of them have themes of how they want to package and sell this. But there's also the people out there, the cigar smokers out there who live like, are just minimalists. They don't need much to really, I guess, reel you in. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is there a humidor in the Monty M box? Is this a double for a humidor too?
I don't know if it does. I know like Ferio.
Yeah,
does.
I was gonna say like Ferio Tego. Like you look at them, they have their logo on the top of the cigar box. That beautiful like blue color, And then that's a feature packaging as well, which could help maybe some new cigar smokers too who don't want to get a humidor, let's say. But the one thing I love about the Revival, and it's not just me saying, is that we were able to be like, all right, we want to, and we've talked about this before. We've had episodes where we're smoking and talking about where we wanted to kind of emulate the smoking experience from that decade. So you're able to do that. It's priced well. And on top of it, you have a really you have a box or packaging, to me, that really does, what's the word? Showcase what that era was like, the different color stripes and the font and the typeface and all that. And I think that will bring most people in. But then when you get to smoke the cigar and you're like, oh wow, this is actually really good too. Like it's the whole package. Right. It is, and I think that's what companies should, and I think most of them do strive for. It's funny, you have the Umbagog that comes in like paper packaging. To me, that's like Steve saying, I ain't gotta really like sell you on the branding, all the business, or quote unquote, or all the allures in when you light the cigar.
Don't forget,
and I love and I think Tatuaje does that with the pork. Was it the pork tenderloin that like?
Yeah, but that was genius. That was just this mixture of simple but perfect. Yeah. Like no one's ever gonna.
Yeah. But even Tatuaje in general, just like the Monster series, the box coming with blood stains, or
the coffins,
and the coffins, like that's next level,
I would say, and I don't know how other people feel, but I would say that the pork tenderloin and like the pork chop and everything from Tatuaje should win like packaging ever, like the most creative packaging. Because listen, man, you could be like, I'm gonna call them out because they don't sell, like El Septimo, and like put fucking diamonds and bullshit.
Yeah.
All over your thing. Like you can spend a ton of money on it, and it doesn't make it look good. But to do something like butcher paper and a sticker, and it's the most coveted cigar of all time. Again, I'm not gonna say it's the best. I think like what Spectre does. I think the Spectre stuff is really cool. I also saw some upcoming packaging from AUSA. I can't say anything about it. It's a release for later on this year. In terms of like a factory of the year, which is different than like a brand or a company, I would say factory. I would like to give it to Raniero Lorenzo from HVC. Mm. I am just so impressed with a guy who didn't have extensive cigar background up until maybe 10, 15 years ago. I don't know exactly when he started in the industry. And then only set up his own factory 2 or 3 years ago max, because he was working with Aganorsa a lot. And the quality of what he's producing there, everything from the 500th anniversary to something like that, to the Pan Caliente Connecticut mixed filler bundles, which I think are tremendous. So what he's been able to accomplish in such a short amount of time with limited resources, I think is fantastic. I'm very, very excited to see him and his brand in the future. I think he has this great combination of Cuban tradition, which we have seen with other brands can be like overdone and boring. Yeah. But with this very modernistic style. And I'm a big fan of his blending practices and how he really kind of harped on this clean finish so that you can kind of enjoy the next one. The flavors don't sit on your tongue. And that's what I get with HVC. And that's what I really love about them. So, yeah, in terms of factory of the year, again, it's not like an official awards. It's more just a discussion. Yeah, but I would say that what they've done, particularly, even though this might sound cheap, like with their mixed filler bundles that we buy from them, I think for being a mixed fill and at that price point, those rival many premium $7, $8, $9 cigars. I think it's better than a lot of them.
Yeah. For me, a company I really enjoyed getting to know more this year, working with them. So I'm assuming there might be some bias here, but I also really enjoyed some of the cigars they produced this year, and it would have to be Aganorsa. We'll start off with like the Crafted By. I know it was a collaboration between us, but that one, I mean, the Crafted By with Crown Heads was really good, and I feel like this just elevated like in the Crafted series for us. And then the Arsenio. The Arsenio, I think it got did it get number 4 on Cigar Snob or 2.
It
was in the top 5 for one of the
top
publications.
5 on Cigar Snob. I think it was on Dojo's list as well.
Yeah, it was on Dojo's list, and I just I got to know Terrence a little bit more this year. I mean, he's been on the podcast a few times this year, but you just kind of sit and talk with him how much he hustles, and he's traveling, and he's just so positive.
Greatest day of our lives.
Yeah. Every day is the greatest day of our lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, the story behind the Arsenio is really special, and the cigar is really good.
Cigar is phenomenal.
The cigar is so good, and I'm just excited to see what they're coming up with like this year. And like even like the past few years, like the things that they've been putting out, the Validation series, and did they do a new? They had the Rare Leaf Maduro, right?
Rare Leaf Maduro was last year.
Yeah, it was last year. So I mean, they've just been doing so many cool things. I don't know, like you couldn't have a better guy like in Terrence to really like just push your brand. Like everyone seems to love him, and their cigars are really good. But I'm excited to see if Arsenio is on anyone's list next year as well, because I feel like when did it come out in the summer, or was he promoting it in the summer of last year?
Arsenio came out,
or was
at
it like
the
the
trade
fall?
show,
Okay, at the trade show. Okay,
I started taking over accounts right when they got back from the trade show, and that was one of the first things I like made codes and put in an order for.
Gotcha. Yeah,
because I had gone to Jim right before he left for the trade show, and I was like, hey, I want to learn like this part of the business, like the buying part of the business. And so he gave me like 3 accounts, and I was already doing a lot with Aganorsa because we had put in Crafted By, we were working on Bone Shaker.
That's another one, Bone Shaker.
Yeah, I had done the 50th with him a couple of years ago, so I knew Terrence well.
Yeah.
And Aganorsa was probably like, it was my most normal account because it acted like any other account in terms of like buying habits and all that stuff. Whereas like I also had like Dunbarton, but Dunbarton is like, you kind of put in like a large order in the beginning and then it kind of comes in over time. But no, Terrence, phenomenal guy. One of my closest guys, I would say, in the industry.
I forgot the Bone Shaker Lunatic this year.
Yeah, they did some work with us this year.
They did. They really did. They it's been like a beautiful collaboration. And if you haven't tried, any of the cigars we mentioned from them, specifically like Crafted By and Bone Shaker, definitely check them out. I think you'll get your full Aganorsa experience. Did you have any other companies that you wanted to give a shout out to? Or
so companies overall, I mean, it's going to be the usual suspects.
Yeah.
Really, for like personality of the year, and this is weird because I don't think the newer stuff he came out with was kind of was like reduxes of the old Wise Man. I think it was a ballsy move, but Nick is always up there for me in terms of just like like brand owner, just because, like I said, real ballsy move moving over to my father, and I think it worked out well for him. We had such huge growth with his company this year, like probably the biggest monetary growth of any. Like it was huge, like how much we grew with him. We grew with a lot of the boutique guys this year, or last year in 24, a lot of them, like very very steadily. His was just an explosion. We're working on a project together that'll be sometime this year, a really cool one. But yeah, I mean, all the stuff he was doing, like, this guy, like I said, he's running around like Indiana Jones. He's saving shields, and he started like this kind of like cigar museum at his headquarters in Connecticut, and he's still making amazing projects with awesome stories to tell. I mean, I
think I just saw a video on his account where he made a Joe Rogan like the box, like a new box for him, which I thought was, I don't know if they're for sale or not, but
they never are.
No. But I mean, yeah, he's dipping his toes in so many different things within the industry, right? Or doing some cool things. But and then, like you said, side quests are like restoring shields from Ethiopia, like all this other stuff.
Yeah, he's doing side quests that are like some people's like full-time like archaeology jobs.
Yeah.
And he's doing it on his weekends.
Yeah, so.
But I just think, listen, there's a ton of smart people in this industry. There's a ton of people that if I was like forming a company, I would like go to them for advice and everything. But where like if I was starting my own company, like one of my first phone calls would be to John.
Yeah.
But I think in terms of like, as an ambassador for the industry to the world, like if there's somebody I want to go on Joe Rogan's podcast or talk to about, like advocate for the history and the culture that is the cigar industry, I mean, John is like if anyone thinks they should go instead of John,
Yeah.
good luck. I mean, you have some great, Pete Johnson would be like a great advocate. John would be one, but he doesn't like, you don't want to go talk to people.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't.
He doesn't want to go talk to anybody. He'll talk to me, and I'll go tell everyone.
Yeah.
For him. But Nick, I think, has that kind demeanor and has so much respect. I mean, he's not like, I think he's boutique, but he's not doing like really crazy things like a lot of boutique companies. And when I say crazy, I mean like compared to the normal, like traditional, here's the thing.
Like branding aspect.
Yeah, like his branding is all very unique and it's definitely boutique, but with this like ode to the traditional, not in the same way that Renair does it, where it's like he's doing his on like traditional branding.
Yeah.
Nick is like, it's an ode to just traditions, whether it is with the Tabernacle or the Charter Oak or I can never pronounce that one, the
Centaur.
Yeah, which might be his best cigar. I think I had to smoke another one. I only smoked one, and I was so wowed. But I haven't smoked it up. But yeah, Nick, always a top tier guy. Brand of the year? Did we do? I don't think we really did this.
No.
Like factor. I mean, Dunbarton just continues to not miss. Truly, they just do not miss.
They didn't miss in 2023 with a handful of stuff, and then this year with the.
And listen, you could say there's people online who are, there's like just Saka fanboys. I'm like, dude,
there's fanboys for every
but
company.
there's also cigars that he makes that like I wasn't the biggest fan of. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of Todos Los Dias. It was like a little strong and spicy for my taste. There's been some Moisture de Sakas that like weren't my favorite thing ever. That like it was nice to have it once, but consistently every year. I mean, he was on Dojo's list. I know he's in the running for one of the final spots with Half Wheel's like Reader's Choice because I voted.
Yeah,
and that was one of the last options. So I know, like, and then he obviously got our number one. He's just so consistently when he brings in something, and it can be something that's like, and listen, the industry loves to like attack somebody. If he was like coming at like too repetitive, like, oh, it's another version of Umbagog, it's another broadleaf, but he makes these things so unique and individual from each other that you really just can't argue with what he's doing. And then obviously Dave really helping the company grow and just being a great representative of that company. But
those two guys are so, to me, like polar opposite.
And that's why it works.
And that's why it works so well
Dave's
together.
job is to say what Steve meant to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even when he thanked us for the list, he put in like this little dig in there of like, oh, I'm surprised that the other people in their company aren't going to be mad at them. And I'm like, well, now they are. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
But it was a really nice, like, what Steve's... But that's just Steve, man. That's why I love him, and that's why I think the industry needs somebody like him. He'll cut through the bullshit with a sharp pair of scissors. That's a good saying. Add that to my book of sayings.
Your book of sayings.
Yeah. Anything else? I think that's like, maybe we'll make this part a little more formal next year.
Yeah.
Again,
we've always talked about it too. Like at the end of our top 25, we've always kind of gone in and talked about it, but we could always make it more formal.
Our list seemed to have an impact this year, probably more so than ever before. Like it was very much talked about.
Yeah.
Usually we get talked about for our CA episode, but I want to say the top 25 I think hit this year a little more than normal, which is great. I love to see that keep growing. Because it's as objective as it can be. I mean, like I said,
and it was a great balance.
Some of our competitors put out lists, and the amount of cigars that are just those competitors' exclusives.
Yeah,
come on, like 80% of your list is just things they only use.
That, or like we said last week with the CA, you're having Cubans on there where people can't.
Yeah, and I saw a Cigar Snobs list also, and like wasn't impressed.
Yeah.
Dojo's list is pretty good. I like Dojo's. Coop's. The problem is with media guys like Coop and Dojo is they get into like the fine like there are brands on those lists that I have never heard of.
Okay, I'm not the only one then because I'll look at Coop's list and I'll be like, I've never even heard of this brand.
No,
Like,
but again, we fully acknowledge like our list is based on what we sell, and we sell most things, but they're smoking everything.
yeah, yeah.
You know, no, but I'm looking forward to Half Wheels list, and then the consensus is always. I would say that overall, the consensus is probably my favorite, just because it really is the industry talking.
It's the industry, yeah.
And so the consensus is kind of like.
Well, it's nice when you look at their list, the consensus list, and if there's certain cigars that are on our list, you're kind of like, all right, well, I mean, it just shows kind of really how in tune we are with or like our palates are, or like we were looking, it was on both lists for a reason, right?
The weird thing is we get more right on the consensus than on like don't forget the consensus is a combination of all these lists, but like we'll get more in common with the consensus than we will with like CA or like Cigar Snob.
Yeah.
So it's like I guess all these other people's lists and stuff is kind of like what we're looking at.
Mm-hmm.
But like I got to relook at Cigar Snob's list. I think there wasn't a ton. Like, dude, they had a original Sober Mesa at like number 20. I'm like,
yeah. Was that did the 180th get number 2 on that list, or no? That was Dojo's list. Yeah,
Dojo 180th was very good. I just wish it was just a tad lighter. It was just
it was a little harsh.
It was such a great cigar. It was just a little heavy.
And in that Churchill size, it's
because now it's extra heavy for like 2 hours instead of maybe like an hour.
Yeah.
But no, great work from the industry all around. This is a good year. I like this year in terms of releases and everything. I think a lot of companies did very well. And then we'll see what this year brings. Now that everyone's kind of more settled with the new timing of the trade show, it'll be interesting to see how this year plays out in terms of releases. I think you're going to see a ton of announcements leading up to March, and then obviously April is when the show is, and then we'll kind of see after that. But yeah, excited for this year. I think with the FDA kind of struck down, the industry breathed a little easier, and people are able to kind of go back to releasing things that they want to release consistently. But yeah, that's all I got. I want to thank everyone for following us and listening and engaging. Keep doing so. We have a lot of great stuff coming this year. A lot of great cool collaborations. So just make sure to keep watching. Make sure to comment, like, and subscribe. And as always, keep it lit.